I felt phony because I knew I wanted to do it and I was talking about it, and I found myself irritated that I hadn't started it yet. You know, a year goes by and you've been talking about this thing that you want to do, but you haven't actually acted on it yet. And it was just like, Kris, like, just fucking go for it. All right, welcome back. This is Third Times Me. I'm your host, Kris Zervis. To any new listeners, I've actually noticed that we've got quite a few new listeners as of the last few weeks. So I just want to say hi and thank you for tuning in. I am coming to you from Portland, Oregon. That's where I'm based for anyone that is curious. I do from time to time record on the road when I'm traveling, but I am based in beautiful Portland, Oregon. So if I have any Oregon listeners that I do not already know, please reach out. Add me on Instagram at Kris Zervis, KrisZervas. And that's V as in Victor, VAS. Follow me on Instagram, add me, send me a DM, and let me know that you're tuning in. I would love to connect with any of my Pacific Northwest listeners and would love to hear from you. And for this week, I have been just noodling as the year is coming to a close end. I feel like as the holidays are creeping up, I have been thinking about just kind of reflecting on this year and thinking about everything that's happened in the last year and how much I freaking love being in my 30s. Guys, I love it. Like, I just think 30s are way better than 20s. And not to say that I didn't have amazing experiences and learn a lot in my 20s and grew substantially, but there is just, I feel a night and day difference from 20s to 30s, and I have learned so much, and I have come into such a new space of confidence and just really learning what's important and realizing where my energy is best spent. For this week's episode, I want to share with you guys some realizations that I've had since turning 30. So for any of my listeners that are not yet 30, that are younger than 30, these are some things to look forward to. And if you can fast track and kind of get yourself to these growths and learnings before you turn 30, fabulous. So excited for you. And I cannot encourage it enough. But I think this is something that just naturally comes with shifting and into our 30s and as we get older, specifically with our generation, right? I'm a millennial, so I think this is most probably relatable to other millennials. So number one, once you turn 30 or once you hit your 30s, I would say that it becomes easier and you realize that you don't need to try to be everything to everyone. And it becomes a lot easier to stop trying to be everything to everyone. Now, I don't want to gender specify this realization, but as a female, I can only help but feel, just having conversations with our female friends of mine about this type of stuff, that I do think that this heavily weighs a lot more on women, just a lot of pressure that we put on ourselves to be everything to everyone. And this has a lot to do with the gender roles that have been put on women historically in our society for, decades and centuries. So, but once you get to a place where you stop trying to be everything to everyone, you have so much more energy and space freed up in your life to focus on what really matters and what makes you happy. Realization number 2, it's okay, and I highly encourage everyone to give yourself space and quiet time to focus on your own projects, not prioritize others' needs in order to focus on accomplishing your goals and doing what makes you happy. This is very closely linked to an episode I had from a couple weeks ago called Recovering People Pleaser. But once you realize how important it is to carve out time for yourself and you release yourself of guilt of quote unquote being selfish, which I had a conversation this weekend with some of my girlfriends that I went wine tasting with. And I feel like this whole selfish thing is a generational term, that the connotation to it has changed drastically from older generations. This is just my opinion, and I think a lot of opinions of folks my age, but being selfish and putting your happiness first truly, I do think that our generation, that's one thing we're doing a really good job at, in terms of mental health, just, making sure that you are taking care of self-care, self-love, self-worth, all of those things. So, just making sure you give yourself the space and the time to do what you need to do. And it's okay if you need to deprioritize showing up for maybe other people at times, because you need to create that safe space for yourself. Number 3, the shit that we put up with in our 20s, especially with dating. This is comical to me. Absolutely comical. And I think this kind of goes back to one of those things where, the things that our parents tell us and the things that our grandparents tell us and warn us about in terms of dating and romantic love advice, a lot of times we just have to unfortunately learn for ourselves. But it's just comical to me, the things that myself and a lot of friends, male and female, that I've talked to, that we put up with and thought was okay and healthy and acceptable in romantic relationships in our 20s was just insanely immature all too often. And I think there's this shift when you get into your 30s where you start putting up with less crap and you start being able to sniff out BS sooner. And I think that just comes with life experience and wisdom. So that is something to look forward to. If you are in your 20s and you're hating the dating life, don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. The 30s are much better. Realization number 4. You realize that people expressing their unacceptance of you for your life choices or your lifestyle is solely a reflection of them and is not something that you need to lose sleep over and has really nothing to do with you. I know this can be really hard, especially when it comes to people that you love, maybe people in your family, maybe friends. But the sooner you release yourself from that burden, which, by the way, that burden is not a burden for you to bear, the better off you'll be sooner. Number 5, authenticity, confidence, and genuine people are hands down the most attractive people on planet Earth. Seriously, confidence and a grounded human is the sexiest thing in the world. Number 7, doing things that make you uncomfortable or uneasy is literally the only way you will ever grow. Let me repeat that. Doing things that make you uncomfortable or uneasy is literally the only way you will grow. If you have no desire to grow, then this does not apply to you. But if you want to grow, become a better person, become stronger, become talented in a new hobby, get a promotion, whatever it may be, you have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. That is just life. And the sooner that you become comfortable with being uncomfortable, the quicker you're going to see yourself grow. When I started this podcast, let's see, what has it been now? February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. Oh my God, we're going on 9 months. Oh my God, that's crazy. 1 year marks around the corner. But when I started this podcast 9 months ago, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. It took me a long time to figure out that this was the form of content creation and my artistic outlet that I wanted to focus on. And for the longest time, I remember there was probably a good year and a half that I knew I wanted to launch a podcast, and I had started acquiring some of the equipment and I started talking about it to people that I knew and friends. And I felt phony because I knew I wanted to do it and I was talking about it, and I found myself irritated that I hadn't started it yet. A year goes by and you've been talking about this thing that you want to do, but you haven't actually acted on it yet. And it was just like, Kris, just fucking go for it. And it literally took a neighbor of mine who I met in my building, Natasha. She was on last week's episode. Natasha, she and I went to dinner for our first time ever hanging out. We had met in our laundry building, or the laundry room in our apartment building here in Portland. And we went to dinner and had a girls' date and sort of just kind of share a little bit about each other's lives, what brought us to the apartment building, kind of, shared some personal stuff. And it literally took what at the time was a complete stranger, hearing me talk about my story and mentioning that I had this desire to start this podcast, and here was what my vision was for it. And she looked at me and said, Kris, you need to start this podcast and you need to do it now. And I don't know what it was. Well, I do know what it was. It was her energy, her empowering, supportive energy, and her artistic eye, and her understanding of, I just could tell that she really saw me, and she saw my vision and what the bigger goal was for the podcast and what my mission was for it. And that's all it took to just light a fire under my butt, and away we go. And throughout the last 9 months, I have made tons of mistakes. I don't even know if it's fair to call them mistakes, though, because they were simply just me teaching myself how to do things. I had never done any type of audio or video work, never done any type of editing work. This was all completely new to me. And all I knew was that I liked podcasts, and I wanted to find myself a place in this community. And 9 months later, here we are. Next thing hot on my mind: comparing yourself to others in terms of looks, success, status, life stages, etc. does absolutely no good whatsoever for you. So stop doing that right now. I think we talk about this a lot in kind of a cliche way. We're all like, oh, don't compare yourself to others, la da 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 da. But I think personally that the most harmful part about comparing your life or your success to others' lives and their success is that you are, as a result, holding yourself back from your talents and potential and what you're meant to be doing on this earth, because you are so focused on doing things that others are doing or doing it in the way that they are doing it. So you're missing out. Your life is passing you by, and you're simply just missing out. So do what feels right to you. This is what I've really learned, honestly, through the creation of this podcast. Everyone has a different way of podcasting. Everyone has different opinions on it, perspectives on it. A lot of people think that podcasting is absolutely silly and that there's too many people out there podcasting. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, you got to do what feels right to you and your soul, and the rest will fall into place. My next biggest realization is compliments, or the act of complimenting, is one of the easiest and most powerful forms of love that you can spread into the world. This is kind of a random one, but I think this is just something that has really become clear to me, especially in traveling and being around a lot of strangers and people that I don't know, and moving and living in different cities. There is something so incredibly powerful about receiving a compliment, a random compliment from someone that you don't know. This could literally be, a girl in the bathroom line when you're at a restaurant or a bar. This could be someone at the gym. This could be someone at work. This could be someone that you walk by on the sidewalk when you're walking your dog in the morning. But a unsolicited, completely random, off-the-cuff compliment to a stranger, it's so beneficial to the person that you're giving a compliment to, because it can literally make their day. I've seen people that you can tell are having a complete shit day, and then you give them a random compliment and it completely turns their day around. And complimenting and lifting other people up also lifts you up naturally, makes you feel good too. So it's a win-win situation. Next time you're having a bad day, I highly recommend just challenge yourself to throw out a random compliment to some stranger. I promise you it'll make your day better. And my last and final one, realization number 10, which I would argue is the most crucial thing that you will come to realize most likely in your 30s. And if you realize this before you turn 30, then bravo to you. You and only you are responsible for your own happiness. If you're not happy with your life, it is up to you to make a change. It's not your partner's responsibility. It's not your parents' responsibility. It's not your boss's responsibility. It's not your best friend's responsibility. The sooner that you come to terms with this and, get away from, poor as me, or playing victim, or just kind of sitting around waiting for the world to hand you a new deck of cards, the quicker you will be on the path to happiness. And there's something so empowering about taking control of your happiness and choosing yourself first, fiercely choosing yourself first. When I chose to walk away from my last ex, who I was engaged to be married to, because that relationship was no longer serving me, and it was a very toxic, unhealthy relationship, and I had not been happy for quite some time in it. And when I chose to finally walk away and end that relationship, it was the beginning of a beautiful brand new chapter in my life. And there's been a very long growth road over the last couple years to get to where I am now. But it was by far the best decision that I've ever made for myself. And there is just something so empowering about taking responsibility for your life, because at the end of the day, you are your number one, and like there is really no one else in this world that's ever going to prioritize you as much as you for yourself. This is your life, and if you're not happy about something, if you are unhappy in a job that you're in, if you are unhappy in a relationship you're in, fiercely choose yourself, because at the end of the day, you are really the person that cares the most about yourself. You need to be. This is your life. This is your journey. Do what makes you happy. Do what feels good. I'd love to hear from my 30-something-year-olds. Let me know what resonates with you the most out of today's episode. I also want to say hi to all my listeners around the world. Third Times Me has officially hit the entire globe, all continents with the exception of Antarctica. We have listeners in North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, and Australia. So hello to all of you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for taking time out of your day to listen to the show. Add me on Instagram, Kris Zervis. I'm also on TikTok. I've been doing a Runaway Bride series lately. I've been getting a lot of funny feedback on that, so I hope you guys enjoy that. But follow me on TikTok, follow me on Instagram, DM me. Let me know where you guys are tuning in from. I love to just get to know all of you guys and understand what parts of the world you guys are based in. So hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode, and I look forward to chatting with you guys next week. Have a great rest of your week. Thank you.